Greetings, listenership. Welcome to TLC, Tropical Literature Creatives, the podcast where we interview authors of Caribbean heritage about themselves and a bit about their literary works. Some of them you've heard of, and some of them you'll be hearing about soon enough. Today's author, we're deviating a bit from the norm. Our author today, she isn't of Caribbean heritage, however, she is strongly recommended by a couple of authors who are. One of the persons who recommended her was a previous guest of ours, Pamela Haynes, author of Loving the Brothers, Loving the Sisters, and soon to be released, Loving the Children. Today we have with us author, coach, speaker, development manager, TEDx spokesperson, and brand ambassador, Aurea Reis. Did I pronounce that correctly?
That was actually very good. Aurea Reis, yeah, I know it's a struggle.
Okay, I did my best. I did my best, but Aurea, thank you for agreeing to be interviewed by Tropical Literature Creatives.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here, honestly. So thank you so much.
Well, I have to change my question. There's a scenario that I usually give to persons who I'm interviewing. I usually ask them to, persons who have Caribbean heritage, I ask them to recommend something that persons should try. But seeing that you haven't really been to the Caribbean, physically just yet, what I would ask of you is, of all the elements of the Caribbean that you've been exposed to so far, what do you enjoy the most? Whether it be food, whether it be people, well, I don't know. You tell me. What have you liked about the Caribbean so far in your exposure to it?
To be honest, I'm a foodie, so the foods, no doubt, but mainly the people because it reminds me of my people from Angola,
Mhm.
from Africa, very giving, very humble, very loving, very happy. And the loudness when they together, like my boyfriend is Jamaican, so first time I went to visit his family, they talking, and I thought like, oh my god, are they going to start fighting? They were just talking about some gossip. Everything was fine, so it just reminded me of my home country, my background, and we have a saying between us. I say to him, "Oh, you're Jamaican aloud," and you say, "Like, you want to talk about when you're with your African people?" So yeah, it's just so similar but different at the same time. So I just love it. The people, no doubt.
Okay, I mean that's great to hear. It's really great to hear that Caribbean people are making that impression on persons, who haven't visited the Caribbean as yet. So persons who are
Yeah.
visiting the people, that's a reason to visit the Caribbean, the people.
Oh, no doubt. Very welcome people. I love it.
All right, Miss Rice, you have a number of titles that are associated with your name, from author, coach, speaker, developmental manager, and a whole bunch of them. But I hope that during the course of the interview, we'll be able to just touch on at least maybe some of them during the course of the interview. First things first, the book that you would have written, Healing Letters, for persons who do not know about it, for persons who are tuning into the podcast for the very first time. Can you give us a little detail about the book? A little bit of what it's about. Not too much because, we want persons to go out and buy the book.
Of course. So Healing Letters, it's my memoir. It's a book about emotional freedom and liberation of the soul. It's also in there, I took the opportunity to write and create awareness about subjects as like child sexual abuse, domestic violence, postpartum depression, and so much more subjects in there that from also unhealthy family cycles, which is a big thing of coming from our cultures where you always have to respect your elderlies, and there's a lot of sometimes toxic behaviors that you feel like you are obligated to accept. And so I discussed all of that to the point of where we can respect, but we don't have to dwell with that for the rest of our lives. We can love people on the far away. So it's a good book if you're looking or working on your healing from past traumas.
Mhm. Right. I mean, yeah, that really does sound like something I might just be interested in, just, taking a read of as well. And as were describing the book there, I had a look at the speech that you would have given, the TED talk. And I think
Oh,
yeah, I had to, for
yeah.
research purposes, of course. And it sounds like, the book that you're describing, it sounds a lot. there are a lot of similarities in the speech that you'd have given at the TEDx function.
Yes, it's the speech that's still now. Sometimes I can't believe it's me there, and still now when I hear, I always have tears in my eyes because do you notice in the end my voice got emotional?
Yeah,
Yeah, yes,
yeah,
exactly. It's just and it was related a little bit with my son and the importance of the title of the my speech is "Children of Today are the Adults of Tomorrow," which we forget about it. And I thought it was important a speech like that out there because the person that I am today, I work on my own healing, but most of us just continuing in unhealthy cycles for the rest of our lives until we die and we pass that to our children. And I think it's important that at a point we can't be blaming our family and parents and whoever hurts us. Eventually we need to stop and take a breath and build not a new life, but break some unhealthy cycles and start building new and healthy ones. So yeah, it is on YouTube for whoever wants to listen. It is important. It starting those uncomfortable conversations. My book and most of my motivational speaking events, engagements, and even my TED talk is that's always my aim. It's to start those uncomfortable conversations that people don't want to talk about it, but they are so necessary, especially when you're raising children that they're going to be the future.
true, true. The reception to the speech, I imagine, may have been similar to the books because I was looking at the comments and persons were, you know, looking at it on YouTube. The comments, were commendations, by a number of persons. Some were strangers. One of them being Pamela Haynes, and
Ooh, yeah,
and a couple was saying that tears came to their eyes and they were really touched by the speech, etc. In terms of
yeah.
in terms of the book, has anyone approached you indicating that, the book that you'd have written, that they've been using it for counseling purposes to help persons have some of those uncomfortable conversations and to heal, etc. Has anyone approached you about that?
Yes, but I always careful to say I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a counselor. Whatever I speak about it is from my personal experience and through my work. I received some trainings, but it's not in a deep level where I can give consult to other people. So I'm good at listening. I'm good to give advice from my personal experience, from my point of view, to make people sometimes stop and think about it and also see the other person perspective of why they acted that way. But sometimes I have people reaching out and saying, I had one that said to me, and that was one of the things that I loved about writing healing letters, and it was one of my aims, was to help other people more than anything else, was people coming to me and saying, you know what, you wrote that book about yourself, but that's my story too, because it is healing letters, is a different chapters with different subjects. It might be that the whole book doesn't everything relate to you. Maybe a few things, maybe something is related to a friend, a family member, a colleague. But that person in particular said, the whole book, I felt like you were writing about my life. And I know this person from a young age. We went to school together. She's 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
We used to talk, we used to laugh together, we used to go out together, and it took me write my book to find out that she was going exactly to the same things as me, especially the part where I speak about child sexual abuse when I was younger. And we know each other for so long, and just now me talking about and writing a book, that's when we sat together to talk about her experience. And all this time we could have been supporting each other through all of that was happening to us at the same time, different houses. And that's the importance of having these conversations. We need to talk more about things. We need that this and I don't. It's sad, but since I wrote the book, the amount of people, women around me, they grow to things, and you never know. And then I was going through all of that things, and they went through, for example, domestic violence. They went through before me, and if I had knew, I could have gone through them. To them and ask for advice, so I could have, if I had the comfortability of talking to them and they advising me. So yes, some people saying, oh, some subjects they already talked about it. No, never. We need to continue to talk about it, because sometimes it feels like the more you talk about it, it seems it's not enough. But at the same time, you can have these movements where people come and, you know what, it happened to me, and then you talk about it, and then another person comes and another person comes, and I start feeling, you know what, it's happening. It's a slow movement, but it's happening, and people are talking about it more than in my time. So for me, it makes me very happy.
No, it's glad to hear that that your writings are bringing persons together. I mean, if it's one thing, other than there are like two things that bring people together. One is food, and
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and the second is trauma, which I guess, you know, in a case like this, it helps because once you talk about it and you have the conversations, you know, healing can take place. So the first thing is to confront what is in front of you.
Yeah.
As you would have written this book, were you always such a good writer, or is it something that you developed over time doing, you know, how did this skill develop with you?
You know what? I was always good. Here is the English lessons. I was always good at Portuguese lessons. And I was I was always one of the best students at Portuguese lessons in writing and well spoken, because my mom did that from us. That regardless of speaking some dialect at home, we had to speak good Portuguese, like here, I guess, good English. But I used to read a lot, and I always wanted to write a book, but I didn't. I used to do some poems when I was young, but not really writing. This was my first book.
Your
It
first book?
started. Yes, it is my first book.
Oh.
I have another one which is Flying Without Wings, which is a collaboration with other authors, which sadly I don't speak much about it. But this is my first book. Hopefully, I'll have others. But it started as letters when I was in therapy. Healing letters when I was in therapy was a suggestion from my therapist. And then I said that on other interviews. So one day I just had a dream where I had the name of the book, I had the chapters, and I woke up and I knew exactly what I had to do. I had to pick up all of those letters that I used to do it on my computer, like just, letters from my mom, letters for like you see in the book, if you read the book or whoever is going to read the book. And I had to just expand more, because at the time they were very superficial. Oh, I didn't like when you did this to me. Oh, I'm upset with you until today because this and this and that. And so in my dream, it was, no, this is the chapters that you have, the people that you're writing right now, it's correct, but you need to do it in this way. And so I just went through that. So it started in therapy, and it's here now, healing letters.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting.
Because you do know that's one of the exercises that sometimes therapists do with you. They say if you think that you're not going to be able to have a conversation with the people, because people tend to listen to defend themselves and not to actually listen, that's something that you can do, because at least you can put all that is on your chest on the paper. You can either then send it to them, burn them, or just leave them there for one day when you think they're ready to listen to you, because sometimes people are not in the same journey as you. So yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting about the origins of this book, in that I don't think that your intent was really to write a book. It was just rather to just, you know, deal with the issues that you were facing. And lo and behold, in dealing with your demons, the issues, this book came out of that. And this book has been able to help start other persons on the process to recovering. I mean, you don't recommend it. You're not a therapist. You don't recommend it for that purpose, but it does help all the same in beginning the conversations, in starting to ask those difficult questions. And that is interesting.
Yes, because I always, because I used to read too much, I used to say to myself, one day I'm going to write a book. But I didn't want to just write a book. I wanted something meaningful and rewarding. But I never thought it was going to be my own memoir. I don't know. Yeah, so everything was surprising. Although I know I wanted to write, I never thought it was going to be about me
Mhm.
because I never wanted to expose myself like that, which is very daunting. But yeah, that's what happens.
I'm seeing it the nature of the book, it being a memoir, and I'm assuming that in the book you would have called names of persons, etc. I mean, how has been the reception been from the persons who might have found themselves, identified in the book? Were they, uncomfortable with being, called out, or did you have conversations with them before it was published, that kind of thing?
I had to change the names of the people, some of the people, some of my family members as well for protection purpose, and so I don't have people taking me to court as well. But in regards to my family, which was the most important people for me,
Yeah.
I spoke with my mom before, and she was okay with that. My sisters, I gave them the manuscript to read. My mom, not so much because she doesn't speak English, but I did say to her, and I asked my sister in Portugal to read the manuscript and say to my mom exactly what was in the book. And they were okay. They're very supportive. My mom actually, because I'm self-publishing, my mom actually helped me paying for the book as well. So I think that says a lot. She has a copy of my book signed, which she I don't think she'll read it, but I wanted to send it to her over post, and she said, no, I want to receive from your hand. So when I went to Portugal, I gave her a copy. So she's just there with the copy just to show to people. Oh, that's my daughter, but ask her if she read the book. But I'm in the process of translating. I already translated the book to Portuguese. I'm just of publishing in Portugal, but I've been a bit scared to do that though in Portuguese because most of my family doesn't speak English, but but my family speak Portuguese. So now I'm in conflict with myself. So I actually the book should have already been out in Portuguese and I put on hold because I'm conflicted and I'm in a war with myself, like because although my mom was okay with the book published in English, how will she feel with the book in Portuguese? But at the same time I could take some of the chapters, but I don't want to because for me it wouldn't make any sense. So I'll publish everything as it is or I don't publish. She never asked me, my sister never asked me, but the respect I have for them is so much. And my family, we come from an African culture, very judgmental. I don't want people looking at her sideways of my family.
Mhm.
So I'm conflicted with that because I'm being overprotective. But I'm sure if I ask my mom, she'll say it's okay. But I don't want to put her in a situation where she has to feel embarrassed or people point at her fingers. So yeah, but I was very supportive. My friends, some of my friends said, no, I want my name as it is, so people know talking about me because you have too many friends. Right? No, they have to know I'm in the book. That's the level of friendship we have. If you're gonna put some other name and then they say, oh, that's about me, they're going look. No, I want to know. When you become famous, they know I was your friend before. I was like, oh my god, it's so funny. That's so fun. One of my friends actually said that to me. You said, you're so funny. She's like, no, then you become famous. They're going to say like, oh, she just want to appear. No, I'm there since the beginning. So I left their names as it is, but everyone else that I was actually having, that it's a bit controversial what I'm writing in the book,
Yeah.
I had and I was advised. And as you should, if it's a memoir, you need
Mhm.
to be careful with certain things. So yeah, I had to do it.
Okay, I really like the support that you'd have gotten, and I like the relationship that you have with your family, and how you're looking out for your mom as well. And I think
Mhm.
that's very
You
respectful.
have to, especially when you are a parent. There was a time our relationship wasn't good, but now I'm a mother. I understand where she's coming from. No one, you give what you have inside, and now and the fact that I see that with the age and after the book came out and we had conversations, and she's even in her age trying to do her best to be better, and change and healing and listen to us because, African parents, they're very much because I said so, because it's the way it is. And seeing her trying to evolve with the time and the way we're trying to live our lives as well, you need to follow up. And the way that I'm protecting her now, it's my way of saying like, that's a different cycle of our lives. Let's just be there for each other. And I'm sure I'm going to publish the book, but in the right moment. At the moment, I felt it was the right moment, but then when I started translating, something in me saying no. So until I have this feeling, I'll hold it.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes it's good to follow that intuition. Sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
I was listening to what it is that you were saying, and you mentioned that your book was self-published, and for a self-published book to get that kind of attention, it's really something that's interesting because in the Caribbean, self-publishing is starting to pick up, and persons are now seeing it as an option for persons who, haven't done the traditional publishing. But why do you choose the option of self-publishing as opposed to going to a traditional publisher?
You know what, Kevin? Because I know about many people that were waiting for traditional. And for me, it just felt like a rejection after rejection after rejection. And my aim to publish the book wasn't getting rich. It wasn't like being grabbed by a traditional house, publishing house, and be like the author of Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter and be millionaire. If that happened, of course, nice. Thank you, God. Mine was more, I wanted to be an author. I wanted to help people. That was my why. Because when you write a book, you have to have your why. Why is your why? Because you need to remember that along the way, because the journey to publish the book, it's sometimes is a bit flow, and sometimes you have doubts. One moment I wanted to publish, the next moment I didn't want to publish. Then my publisher, Marsha M. Spence, she had to come to me all the time and say, but what's your why? Why don't you want to publish now? What's keep it, why are you afraid of? So she will always bring me back to my why. And my why was always helping people. And when you really want to help people, it's not about the money, it's not about how you publish, it's about just having the book out there. And that's what I wanted. I just wanted the book out. I didn't even think much about tradition. I look around, but I said, what? And then I have to be waiting maybe 5-10 years until someone say yes to me. No, I'm going to say yes to myself. If that means I have to pay for my book, I'll pay for my book. I don't know how, because I don't have the money. But then talking to my mom, I said I had the book, and she knew I like to write, and I always wanted to have a book. She helped me with half of the money, and it was always about that. I want to be an author. I'm going to be an author. It doesn't matter how. But I'm not going to be waiting for someone to tell me yes, because I already say yes to myself. And that was the main reason. I didn't even consider it. I look around and I saw how the process, I saw other people, what they were saying. And I said, you know what, whatever, I'm going to be an author regardless.
That's as plain as you can say it. That's as plain as you can say it.
Yeah, it is. If you want to be something, you will be.
During your writing process, did you have like editors to assist you? Did you do your own editing for this book?
I couldn't. English is not my first language. When the editor, it's actually funny. Before I sent the book to the publisher, I said, "Listen, say sorry to the editor," because I knew she was going to have a lot of work, because I did my university here, and my assignments was always well written, because I had to send them to someone, to like a department in a university, to correct the spelling mistakes and all of that, because I might be good speaking in English, but writing now, not so much, because that's what I do in terms of work. I have to be writing all the time at my work, but at the time not so much. So I had to have the editor to do that, the publishing house. Although, because the thing is that self-publishing authors that do all the job themselves, they go to Amazon and they publish. Like, I could have done that myself. But I knew nothing about it, very naively. I thought I wrote a book and that's it. I was happy. Hey, I'm an author. Listen, all the work starts after you write the book. The writing the book is the 1% that it's the easiest part. And I thought that was the most difficult part. No, that's the easiest part, to write the book. The people out there, they want to be author. I'm telling you now, the difficult part starts after. So then I look for self-publishing authors house, and I already knew Marcia because I used to follow her, and she had a book, and she's cousins of a friend of mine. So I was following her. So I went to her first. I saw other self-publishing authors. I saw traditional authors. So I just thought I'm going to go with someone that I actually follow and know more or less. So I end up signing with her. But as she has a company, which is a self-publishing house, she has everything. She has the editor, she has the marketing and whatever. But then there's package. But I didn't choose the package with marketing. So which means that the marketing, everything had to come from me. And let me tell you something, if you can do some budget, if for any other authors out there that they're trying to be authors and they're going to the self-publishing route, if you can make some budget for the market, to do it, because people, it's not easy. It's a struggle. And then I have people asking me, when you're writing the second book, maybe in 10 years, because I'm still doing the marketing for this one and still trying to have the numbers and still trying to get some where I want to get with this book. And it's all about marketing. And marketing is the most difficult part of being a self-publishing author, because it's on you. So if you have some budget that you can pay someone to do that. And the only reason I'm doing so well is because I had my social media manager that he was referred by Pamela as well. Her name is Petra Baptiste. And she helped me, because she was the one telling me, little girl, you need to sit down and listen to me, because I thought I wrote a book. My book is in Amazon. I'm an author. This is fantastic. And she said, you know how much you can do with this? If I'm on TEDx, she put that idea on my head. Because I was like, TEDx? I thought TEDx was for business people. And she was like, you are a business person, you know? So all these things she taught me, she didn't taught me, she schooled me. She was more than my mom. She was telling me off all the time, and I was so annoyed with her. But when she left, I was like, oh my God, because she opened her business, Island Impress, and I'm ambassador for her brand. She's Caribbean as well. Island Impress and Island Emperor. And it was because of her and people like my senior authors like Pam, Pauline, and other authors that I know, Janet Barrett, even Marcia, my publishing house as well. I was lost. So that's the most difficult part.
Attention, Caribbean authors and creators. Are you looking to elevate your literary journey? This is Kevin George, your host and presenter from TLC Tropical Literature Creatives, and I'm thrilled to share an exciting opportunity with you, introducing our bespoke promotional services designed exclusively for authors of Caribbean heritage. Whether you're a seasoned professional or a rising star, we're here to amplify your voice. From getting the word out about your book launch, your self-publishing services, or workshops, to sharing services that you offer to fellow authors and creatives. Visit our website or reach out to us today to explore how we can tailor our expertise to showcase your literary brilliance. Let's unlock the next chapter of success together. Okay, greetings, listenership. Welcome back. We just took a short break and we're returning to the interview that we're having with Miss Rice. Right.
Yes.
Before we took the break, she was relating some of her self-publishing experience and how it is that in addition to the self-publishing part, the marketing part came after, and that in itself was like another undertaking altogether. It's a misconception that authors sometimes have, once you write the book, that's the end of the journey. But as Miss Rice was telling us, no, this is where, another part of the work comes in. But with guidance, and she found really creative ways of promoting her book, and one of them being the TEDx conference where it is that she gave a speech. And it was a very moving speech. So if it is that you have time, you could check it out. And I can also provide the link at the bottom when it is that you go to look at this interview on YouTube. So, Ms. Rice, as we continue along with this interview, I just have a couple more questions for you. Before the interview started, there were a number of titles that I identified that you go by: author, coach, speaker, development manager, etc. Did you have these titles before you wrote the book, or is it upon writing the book you found yourself involved in different activities? You found yourself being like a coach. being a speaker, being a developmental manager? How did it go? Is it that the book was the chicken and the stuff was the eggs, or was it, the other way around?
Actually, the book, like my social media manager schooled me. It
Mm-hmm.
was with the book that I acquire all of these titles, because before, my background it's in travel and tourism, and I used to work in travel and tourism until COVID happens. And
Ah,
then my book was the process of publishing. I started writing before COVID happened, but then to publish it took like the whole almost time during COVID, that things the whole COVID started happening. And then all these titles I start to acquire after, uh, because one thing led to another. So with the book, I started being invited to speakers engagements, speaking engagements. I start thinking about going to TEDx. I start thinking about people coming to me and asking advice. And then even in terms of job, my actual job, I had a person coming to me and ask me if I wanted to go and work for them as a coach and development manager, because they read the book, they read some of the articles I wrote for a magazine called Motivate magazine. I don't think it existed anymore. I was a contributed article.
mhm.
So I wanted to be an author, and I thought that was my purpose in life. And now, through the book, I realized that my true purpose that I love, it's doing all this motivational speaking. I love it. Every time I go on a stage, I have butterflies. I can't eat the whole day. My stomach hurts. I'm super nervous. But then when I'm on that stage and I'm talking, I can see people nodding and people smiling. And I feel like I'm in my element, and then I finish my speech and people come to me and they're saying, oh, amazing, and thank you so much. I can't believe I didn't want to come, but I'm so glad that I came. And I realized that the writing the book was just the door to take me where I want to be in the future. Maybe, just living from this. Right now, I like the job that I do, but I hope when I get, now I'm on my 40s, I hope when I get to my retirement, I'm just going places, like every day I'll go somewhere just to speak with people, because I just love it. But you see me, I'm always so nervous, but then you see me on stage, even me looking at the TED speaking, my video of the TEDx, I look so calm. But if you knew, my legs were trembling. I thought I was going to fall down walking to the stage, but I just love it. But I'm always so nervous. If you see my inside, you'd say like, why do you do that to yourself? But I think it's part of the process. It keeps me focused, all those nerves.
I know that you had indicated that when it is that the book came together, it was more as an exercise in therapy. Um, Outside of that, is there like a method that you use for writing? Like you have to drink coffee, your place has to be quiet or something like that. What is a good environment that is conducive for you to get the best writing?
Oh, wow. That's actually a good question, because every author has different, everybody has different things that they do. Me, I like to light some candles, and I'm a night owl. So even when I was in university or at school, my best writing was always like doing assignments. I like quietness. Even when I'm not writing, I like quietness. I just like silence. It's just so good. You can hear your own thoughts. But I used to put my son in bed and then write from 8 until midnight, because I had to wake up at 6 a.m. So I wrote my book in 3 months. So during those times, I was doing that. Then, because I have my boyfriend, my partner, we don't live together, but he has his house, I have my house. But then I had to say to him, listen, I'm doing this project, and so we will be together on the weekends. From Friday until Sunday, I wasn't writing. That was the compromise, and I had to say that to him. At the time, he didn't really understood, but because he knew my work was quite demanding, sometimes I had to do reports. So he just respected, because in the end of the day, in my house, I pay the bills. He might help me if I need, but he has his life and he's a business person. So more than anyone, he understands when you have something to do, it's about your coin, you know, you don't allow anyone to come and mess with your coin. So he thought it was about that. So I only told him after I wrote my book, but it was about, you know what, at the time it was an early relationship. I think we were 1 year in the relationship or something like that.
Mhm.
And my experience is this person is here now. He might not be here tomorrow. So what I'm going to do, put my dreams on hold all the time on behalf of other people, you know, because at the time we used to see each other during the week as well. He would come from work, he finished work later, come to my house. And I started thinking, these are the times instead of staying with him until 8, I can be doing something for myself. So I was writing from 8 until midnight, then go to bed. Then on the weekends, Friday to Sunday, I wouldn't write unless I was at home because sometimes he has to travel. I like silence. I like to light some candles before I start writing. I used to just meditate or maybe pray before, because then after I finish writing, I'm tired. I just wanted to go to sleep. So I would meditate, pray, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes I would put the computer on and nothing would come and it was okay. I would just allow it. You know, I wouldn't stress myself. I really didn't stress myself with writing. But one thing I have to say for the writers out there, if you're writing memoirs, bear in mind to take care of your mental health, because for every chapter where I was writing things that traumatized me, and I haven't talked with people for so many years, like my child sexual abuse, I had to allow 2 weeks that I thought this is too brutal. I don't want to do this anymore. You know, because when I wrote the letters in the beginning, it was very superficial. I didn't want in details. And when you go in details, writing a memoir is like you go back to that little child, and then you have to. I was doing therapy, I know how to do the process. So when I was going back to myself, I had to tell myself, "You are okay now. You are safe," and touch myself like there's a touch mechanism. I don't know how to explain, where you have to be touching yourself and talking to yourself, you know, saying you are safe, you are okay, this is your home, you are okay, you know. And it's brutal. So whoever is doing memoirs, I know people that have stopped and not writing again for a long time, but that's only normal. That is only normal. Yeah, so, but there's people that do journals. I'm not much into journals, which is really weird for a writer. But I always like to put that out there because not everybody is the same. I'm quite lazy to do journals. I'm very forgettable now. I think with the age is a common thing. But I'm not one to everything that happens, oh, let me put on the journal. I never was that little girl of doing journals. I never been that person. And I have journals, but it's more when I have interviews to put some notes together, because I want to be saying things that I think it's important to say. And then I put notes just to be talking to you and look at my notes. But I'm not that person. And I had people saying to me, oh, but I don't really like to do journals. It's not me. So I don't think writing is for me. No, I've done the journals and I have a book out there. So just bear that in mind. You will find your own thing. Don't be following. It's nice to hear for advice, but do your own thing. Find your pace, find your box, put yourself, don't put yourself just in a box. Try a different box, but don't put yourself out of sync just because you're not doing what other authors are doing. You are your own person. You find your own rhythm, you know.
Thanks for those words and those pieces of advice, because coming out of that, I understand that, like you said, everybody's not the same. Things work for different people.
Yes.
All right. So one of the things you had mentioned is persons asking about the next book, but you're saying, no, right now it's to promote the book that is. But 2024 has just started. You know, we're just in right now at the time of this recording. We're in February, and you know we have months to go yet. I mean, what are your plans for 2024? You know, what is it? What is on the horizon?
You know, Kevin, for this year, I have none. And it's scary but good at the same time because I feel more chilled. The first year, I followed Pamela's advice and I said yes to everything. The second year, I was more pick and choose because my work was more demanding. And then now I'm like, I believe in whatever is mine will come to me. Like, for example, when you came to me and I was like, oh, nice. I have another one coming as well. I haven't done all the meetings with the ladies yet. And if it happens, it happens. It's okay. But in terms of writing a book, one thing I'll tell you, I want to do a healing letters visit, because some of the people in my book that I really spoke really well spoken about it, friends, we don't speak anymore. So I think it will be nice to do a revisit book, revisitation of healing letters. Maybe, I don't know when, maybe in 5 years, I don't know. Publishing in Portuguese, it will happen, just not yet because I'm not feeling comfortable at the moment. But this year, I would like to do more like interviews. I would like to be on TV. Haven't been on TV yet. I'd like to be invited for more events. For example, last December, I was invited for the Miss Caribbean and Commonwealth here in London, UK, as a judge, which was so much fun, all dressed up. I felt like a celebrity. It was really, really nice, like a Beyonce from Angola. Like I was feeling myself. And I would like to be more in doing this kind of things. I would like to, I don't know, I'd like to do a book tour, maybe publish. I know someone in Ireland that she invited me once to go and publish my book in Ireland, publish the book in Portugal. Little things like these, little big things, which I think, because for me, it's like, for a self-publishing author, I've done so much so far. And I'm keeping my eye, winning more awards, because there was a time I didn't really care much about it, but since I won these awards, it means something. I'm not leaving to that and be like, oh, if I don't win an award, I'm not good. But it is nice. And even if I don't want to be invited to these events to speak, do more speaking engagements, things like that. But I'd like to, and I'm putting out there in the universe, but I have no plans at all this year. And at the time I was like, oh my god, because you follow other people on Instagram and they say they're doing this and they're going to do this year, and I have nothing planned. But at the same time, I'm chilled. I'm like, you know what, whatever has to happen will happen. I'm not going to stress myself, because in the end of the day, as much as I love this, it at the moment doesn't pay my bills yet, and I have other priorities. So I need to be fair with myself and be kind and gentle. Otherwise, I'll be back to the beginning when my book came out, where nothing was happening in the beginning, and I start feeling overwhelmed and feeling depressed and kind of resenting putting myself through all of these, until someone said, listen, this is just the beginning. Take a chill pill, breathe, and just go with the flow and enjoy the journey. So that's what I'm doing right now, enjoying the journey.
Quite a journey it has been.
Yes.
I just have two more questions. I mean, my second to last question is, in terms of your book, if you wanted to get copies, how can we get copies?
So it is on Amazon, like I said. There was a time that I used to buy copies of my book and have them at home and sign them. But now, since Brexit happened, for some reason, I have to be buying the copies, and they come from America, and I have to pay for the how do you say, the shipment, and the shipment sometimes is more expensive from the amount of books that I buy. But if I have people, for example, if I have 10 people that want signed copies, then I can do prepay, and then I can order the books, because before, if I do that now, just having copies at home basically is money that I have at home doing nothing. So I have to be careful with that right now. So before, I used to say, oh, if you want signed copies, DM me. You can still DM me or email me on healyletters2021@gmail.com, or Instagram, or send me a text on Instagram or Facebook. But if you go to Amazon, it's just easy to buy from there, because on the normal Amazon, when people order, it's okay. But if I am to order stock for myself, it coming from America for some reason, I don't know why. Make it make sense. It's also on W.H. Smith, Waterstones, and Goodreads online. You can't find it in the store, but if you order online, it's available.
What advice do you have for persons who want to get into writing books, for prospective authors? I mean, obviously you've been through an experience, putting the book
Mhm.
together, having the book published, doing your own marketing, doing your TED talk to promote you.
Mhm.
What advice would you give for a person who is on the verge of starting their book?
Okay, so I think I spoke very much in terms of the business part of it. But if you really want to write a book, like I said before, if you want to be an author, just be it. Write the book. Don't be worried because some people, oh, about the mistakes, oh, about the structure. When I wrote my book, I had no chapters at the beginning, although I knew I wanted the structure of it. It was just like I had the title and then it was just write. And then when I sent to the publishing house, then they sent me back to say, oh, you have to divide these in chapter. That's when I started putting I already had the names of the chapters in my notes, but I didn't put in the manuscript. That's because all of these you go back and forth with the editor. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about just write. And know your why. And this is something that a good publisher will ask you. What's your why? When you do your first meeting, they'll have a conversation with you, and then they'll ask you what's your why. If you're doing for money, you better be lucky that you get a traditional house and that your book, getting someone's house, get really successful and you make money out of that, because it's quite difficult. You need to know your why. Is it for money? Is it for yourself because you want to be an author? I know someone that said to me, I don't know, I don't care if it doesn't sell anything. I just want to have a book out there with my name. So when I die, I know I'll have a legacy, because she doesn't have any children and she just wanted to do that. That was her dream, and she done her dream. That's it, and that's okay. And she's actually doing quite well. Is it something you really want to do, or you just want to do because everybody now? Because there's someone the other day said to me, which I thought was quite offensive. Oh, everybody's an author now. I thought it was offensive, but then I was like, well, at least they know how to. They know what they want to do. Do you know what you want to do with your life? Because I'm 43, and sometimes I still don't know what I want to do with my life. I think sometimes I know. I know. Sometimes I think I don't know. So is it something you really want to do, or you just want to do because in your mind, oh, everybody's writing now, I'm going to write as well? But most of all, know your why, know what exactly you want to write. Don't just write as something because it's common, it's popular, it's fashion now. Do some reflection about it. Do some things you don't really need to do some research, especially if it's about you. And if it's something that you want to do it to help yourself, because my book started to help myself, and eventually it went out there to help others. And I think that's the best way, because when you're doing something genuine, believe me, good or bad, is always going to be successful somehow.
All right. Okay, thank you very much for this word. Thank you very much for those words. Listenership, Miss Aurea or Miss
Aurea Reis. It's
I
okay.
thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed and for sharing about your book and for sharing about yourself. Forward to what it is that you're about to do in 2024. We'll have our eyes peeled and our ears, towards social media to hear what it is that you're coming out with. And all the best and success in all your undertakings, man.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I so appreciate you having me on your platform. Honestly, thank you so much for reaching out as well. Honestly, that day you put a smile on my face. Thank you so much.
Think you put a smile on everyone's face today. For those of us who are listening to this interview, with your contribution, spoke about a lot, and we are better
Thank
off.
you. Thank you.
Okay, you take care. You've been listening to TLC, Tropical Literature Creators. If you've heard something of interest or something you like, reach out to us. Reach out to our authors. Follow us on social media. We look forward to hearing from you.